So in this video, we're going to be talking about what happened in 1971. Before we get into it, could you please Mike Tyson the like and subscribe button? Nixon ends convertibility of US dollars to gold and announces wage price controls. With inflation on the rise and a gold run looming, President Richard Nixon's team enacted a plan that ended dollars convertibility to gold and implemented wage and price controls, which soon brought an end to the Bretton Woods system. So there's a website called WTF, happened in 1971, and there's lots of interesting charts here. This is showing, I'll just run through some of them, but you can go find it for yourself. Just Google what happened in 1971, WTF happened in 1971. Right here is showing productivity, but then compensation, real GDP per capita, and then the real median weekly earnings of full-time wages, average real wages. There's some, they're all interesting. Some are a little bit more shocking to look at. Some of it's probably not a real big surprise, but let's just go down here. Fast progress, slow or no progress. That's average black incomes, real GDP per capita, and median male income. The GDP per capita, but then the median male income. Female income has risen, so it's kind of went up more with it. The males kind of went sideways there. America has become a nation of dual income working couples. Back around 1971, you had about half of women, about 47, around 50% of had both the husband and mother working. And then, you had about 40%, or just under 36% or something, 38%. Of just the husband only working, and then you had 3% of women only working, and you can see that the wife only working has went from 2 to 7%. The husband only workings went from 38% to 21%, and then both spouses workings went from 47 to 66%. The income inequality in the United States, you can see kind of from World War II to 1971, it was pretty even and went sideways, and then it shot up after 1971. The cost of living, 1971, new house, $25,000, average income, $10,000, new car, $3,000, average rent, $150, tuition to Harvard, $2,600, movie ticket, $1.50, gasoline, 40 cents per gallon, postage stamp, 8 cents. Food, 62 cents for 5 pounds of sugar, vitamin D milk, $1.17 per gallon, ground coffee, 98 cents per pound, bacon, 80 cents per pound, eggs, 45 cents per dozen, fresh ground hamburger, 62 cents per pound, fresh baked bread, 25 cents per loaf. This is inflation taking hold. You can see 1971, it kind of was going sideways up a little bit, then just really went bananas. Right here, the cumulative inflation, was going up, but then just went bananas. The consumer price index, World War I, World War II, you can see it's going up, but then it really started going bananas. Electricity, food, fruit, CPI, the St. Louis Fed data, you can see that it really has gone up a lot. You can see right here, you can see the income in Boston in red, or New York, the income in like gray in Boston, but you can see the housing prices. So around 1971, everything was kind of going at the same rate, and then you can see that the housing prices in Boston and New York have gone up way higher than the wages increasing. The average sales price in houses sold in the United States has went up a lot. You can see it does pull back. You can see in the 90s, kind of late 80s, late 80s it went up, pulled back, went up again, kind of right before the 2008, and then crashed down, and then now it's going back up. Real houses prices indexed in Amsterdam. House prices, the rents. So the rents looks like they've stayed kind of reasonable. How long does it take to save for a house? Back in 1971, roughly 2.4 years. Now it's 6.9 years. Home value changes versus income change. The income change has grown a little bit. Housing value has grown massively. Official U.S. gold reserves and prices. The gold reserves are down. Or here's the gold were highest in the World War kind of II area. 1971, our gold went down slightly, but basically the same. The gold price has went up a lot. Hyperinflation episodes. Inflation for adjusted for inflation in Google Books. Occurrence of adjusted for inflation in Google Books. Peer review in Google Books. Currency crashes. Napoleonic Wars. And then there's not a whole lot of currency crashes after that. And then more have been happening. Number of countries with banking crisis. It looks like there was some in around, the 30s. That must have been the 30s. Great Depression, Weimar Germany, all that stuff. The federal debt percentage of GDP is expected to be 180% in 2050. You can see that it did go up in World War II. Great Depression, it did after World War II, it did go down, and then it started going back up after we got off the gold reserve, the gold standard. U.S. national debt, this one is the one that's the craziest, one of the craziest. You can see that we didn't have a whole lot of debt, and our debt went up, and you can see for World War II, the debt went up, and then it kind of went sideways, up a little bit in 1971, and then now it's just going up exponentially. You can see that it's just, so there, we weren't even at $1 trillion in 1971. 1980, we hit $1 trillion. 1990, $3 trillion. 2000, $6 trillion. 2010, roughly, 13 trillion. So it's just going up crazy. U.S. monetary gold tons, external dollar liabilities. Well, you get the point. I think I just wanted to get down to this one. This one, the U.S. national debt, which we all know it's high. And so that's where some people feel like Bitcoin steps in. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be the answer, but when you have something that has grown to be the most powerful computer network with doing over 209 quintillion calculations per second, 21 million max supply with 92% out, you're looking at low inflation. There's estimated somewhere between 2 to 7 million lost forever. There's just not enough Bitcoin to go around. So I know that it's not perfect. It doesn't do lots of transactions per second. Maybe some layer 2 built on it will, but it's a good, for storing your value, like a savings account, because any fiat currency, all these government fiat currencies are turning the money printer on, and they all want to do central bank digital currencies so they can know everything that you're doing. So you can see it's interesting. You can go to buybitcoinworldwide.com. You can see and I don't know how exactly up to date, probably pretty close, but you can see MicroStrategy. This just shows what publicly companies own Bitcoin, some countries, and I'm sure if say the Pentagon was buying Bitcoin because they felt like it could be useful for national security in the future, they're not going to be reporting that. Probably, so, they're going to keep that under wraps. So there's going to be some Bitcoin that people are buying that no one knows about, but this is kind of a general idea of what we know. You can see that MicroStrategy has 152,000, so they have almost 0.7% of the supply. That's about 4 billion. I guess I don't know if that's today's dollars. I didn't do the math. Marathon Digital, 12,000. Tesla's got 10,000. So there's Coinbase 9,000, Block 8,000. The Bitcoin miners like Marathon, Riot's got 7,000. Voyager's got 2,200. You can see Brooks Group. I don't know much about them. They got 1,100. Some other smaller companies, Cipher Mining. I don't know all these companies. And so you can see there with all these that they got listed as public companies, they got 237,000 Bitcoin, about 1.1% of the supply. So that was something that happened once MicroStrategy started buying. Tesla started buying. Publicly traded companies started putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Now, obviously, MicroStrategy went in heavy with all their cash and borrowing money. Tesla just probably makes up a small percentage of their reserves. Then you got countries. Now, I don't know if China and the United States really does have this much, because I know that the United States has confiscated it from Silk Road, things like that. I know they sold a bunch, but probably most of what China and the U.S. has here, if they do have that much, is probably just what they confiscated. Obviously, El Salvador, the first country to make it official currency. It's got almost 2,400. They're going to be trying to mine it with the volcanic energy. Now, I don't know if some of these are starting to get released in the Mt. Gox, Block.one, Tether Holdings, Tezos, Stone Ridge, Massachusetts Mutual, Lisk Foundation. So eventually there'll be more ETFs. You can see Grayscale Bitcoin Trust has about 3% of the Bitcoin, 643,000. If that gets converted, all these other ETFs are either outside of the United States or they're just futures, because I don't think there's no spot ETFs for Bitcoin in the United States. I know, and that's kind of what they have on this website. And so when you look at the world, and there's 56 million millionaires in the world, and then there's all these companies and local governments, at the city level, county level, state level, federal level, and all these different countries that could potentially put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And so when you got the fact that the dollar has been the reserve currency and it is getting inflated like crazy, all the fiat currencies are getting inflated. Now, who would step in if the United States loses its status as a reserve currency? A lot of people don't think the Chinese RMB has what it takes. They don't have the transparency. And I know BRICS is trying to come up with their own currency. They're going to be probably handcuffed with lots of roadblocks. We'll see. But what I like about Bitcoin is the fixed supply, and that no one controls it, no one entity. There's just thousands of, not millions of computers around the world running calculations to secure the network and try to win the mining reward. So that's what I got. Let me know what you think in the comments. And have you checked out the What Happened in 1971 website? And it's kind of scary for one to keep your value in dollars. So thanks for watching and have a good day.